As the oceans of the world hold many secrets, there are few things more haunting than the mysteries of a ghost ship. These phantom vessels, devoid of crew and seemingly adrift at sea, have fascinated people for centuries, inspiring tales of lost souls and supernatural occurrences. In this video, we'll dive into the eerie world of ghost ships, exploring some of the most famous and mysterious cases throughout history. The Octavius. The Octavius was a whaling ship that was launched in 1761 from England. The ship was commanded by Captain Jonathan Barnett, who had a reputation as an experienced and capable captain. The Octavius left England in 1761, bound for the Pacific Ocean. The ship was supposed to reach the Pacific in around 2 years and then return to England. However, things didn't go as planned. The Octavius was never seen or heard from again until more than a decade later, when it was discovered floating in the Arctic Ocean off the coast of Greenland. The discovery of the Octavius in 1775 sparked one of the most enduring maritime mysteries of all time. When the ship was discovered, it was partially embedded in ice and appeared to have been drifting aimlessly for years. The crew was nowhere to be found, and it was not clear what had happened to them. However, it was clear that the ship had been abandoned for a long time, perhaps for a decade or more. When the ship was boarded, the crew was nowhere to be found. The ship's logbook was found on the captain's desk, and it contained a chilling entry. According to the logbook, the Octavius had successfully crossed the Pacific and was heading back toward England when it encountered severe weather. The ship was blown off course, and the crew became disoriented. The captain, Jonathan Barnett, died of a mysterious illness, and the ship's crew became convinced that the ship was cursed. They believed that they were doomed to spend eternity sailing the seas as ghosts, so they abandoned the Octavius and set out in lifeboats. The story of the Octavius is shrouded in mystery, and there are many different versions of what happened to the ship and its crew. Some people believe that the crew was cursed and that they're still sailing the seas as ghosts. Others believe that the crew perished in the Arctic, and their bodies were never found. There are also theories that the crew mutinied, killed the captain, and sailed off in another direction. Despite numerous attempts to solve the mystery of the Octavius, no one knows for sure what happened to the ship and its crew. The SS Baychimo. The SS Baychimo was a steel-hulled cargo ship that was built in Sweden in 1914 and primarily operated in the Arctic seas of Canada. The ship was known for its ability to navigate through thick ice and deliver supplies to remote communities in the north. In 1931, the SS Baychimo was on a routine voyage from Hamburg, Germany to Vancouver, Canada, carrying a cargo of furs and timber. During the voyage, the ship encountered a severe Arctic storm that trapped it in the ice. The crew was forced to abandon the ship and seek shelter on the nearby coast of Alaska. They managed to salvage some of the cargo and belongings before leaving the Baychimo to the mercy of the elements. The next day, a blizzard had hit the area, and the SS Baychimo was buried under the snow and ice. The crew thought that the ship had been lost forever, and they were shocked when they returned to the site a few days later and found that the Baychimo had broken free from the ice and had vanished without a trace. Over the next few decades, the Baychimo became a ghost ship that was spotted sporadically in the Arctic waters. In 1933, a group of Inuit hunters reported seeing the Baychimo stuck in the ice, but by the time a research team arrived, the ship had disappeared. In 1939, a group of fur traders claimed to have seen the Baychimo adrift in the Balfour Sea, but they were unable to approach the ship due to the ice. 30 years later, in 1969, a group of Eskimos spotted the SS Baychimo, and they boarded the ship to salvage some of the cargo. They reported that the ship was in good condition, and they even found some canned goods that were still edible. They left the ship, but returned a few days later to find that the SS Baychimo had disappeared once again. The last confirmed sighting of the SS Baychimo was in 1969, and since then, the ship has remained missing. The mystery of the SS Baychimo has inspired many books and documentaries, and it has become a popular topic among ghost ship enthusiasts. Some people believe that the SS Baychimo still sails the Arctic waters, and that it will appear again when the conditions are right. The Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste is undoubtedly one of the most famous ghost ships in history. The story of the vessel began in 1872 when it left New York bound for Genoa with a cargo of 1,700 barrels of crude alcohol. The ship was captained by Benjamin Briggs, an experienced seaman, and carried a crew of 7, as well as his wife and 2-year-old daughter. A month later, on December 5, 1872, a British ship, the De Gradia, spotted the Mary Celeste sailing erratically in the Atlantic Ocean. The ship was in good condition, but there were no signs of the crew or the Briggs family. The ship's log, navigational equipment, and personal belongings were all still on board, but the crew was nowhere to be found. There were no signs of a struggle, and the ship's cargo was intact. However, the lifeboats was also missing, which suggested that the crew had abandoned the ship. But why? And where did they go? Theories surrounding the disappearance of the crew and Briggs family have abounded for over a century. Some speculated that pirates or mutineers had taken the crew hostage, but there is no evidence to support this. Others believe that a watersprout had caused the crew to abandon ship, but there is no evidence of any storms in the area. Despite extensive investigations, including a salvage inquiry, no definitive explanation has ever been given for the Mary Celeste's ghostly fate. The ship was eventually sold and renamed several times, but each new owner seemed to suffer more misfortune, leading many to believe that the ship was cursed. After the Briggs family, the Mary Celeste had a series of new owners and captains. The ship was eventually re-registered under the ownership of American businessman Benjamin Briggs Jr., who was the son of the previous captain, and then sold to different owners. The ship was eventually abandoned in 1885 off the coast of Haiti, where it was discovered by a passing British vessel. After being salvaged, the Mary Celeste was sold to new owners and continued to operate as a merchant vessel until it was lost at sea in 1885. The story of the Mary Celeste has inspired countless books, articles, and even movies, cementing its place as one of the most mysterious and enduring ghost ships in history. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle even wrote a short story based on the Mary Celeste, titled J. Habakkuk Jepson's Statement, which added to the mystique surrounding the ship. Over the years, there have been many attempts to solve the mystery of the Mary Celeste, but none have been successful. Theories have ranged from mutiny to piracy, from sea monsters and even alien abduction. Although many theories have been proposed, we may never know for certain what truly happened to the crew and passengers of this infamous ghost ship. The Flying Dutchman. According to the legend, the Flying Dutchman was captained by a man named Vanderdecken, who was determined to sail around the Cape of Good Hope, no matter what. However, he made a pact with the devil, and as a result, his ship was cursed to sail the seas for all eternity. The Flying Dutchman was first spotted in the late 18th century by a British ship called the Pickle. The crew of the Pickle reported seeing a ghostly ship surrounded by a mysterious glow sailing towards them. They could see the crew of the Dutchman frantically working on the deck, but no sound was heard. The Pickle tried to make contact, but the Dutchman sailed right past them, disappearing into the mist. Over the years, there have been many sightings of the Flying Dutchman, with sailors and captains reported seeing the ship in different parts of the world. Some reports describe the ship as being in pristine condition, with its sails and riggings fully intact, while others claim that the ship is in a state of disrepair, with the sails torn and its mast broken. In addition to the sightings, there have been many books and stories written about the Flying Dutchman. One of the most famous is a novel by the French author Jules Verne called The Mysterious Island. In the book, a group of castaways sees the Flying Dutchman and attempts to rescue its crew, only to discover that they are all ghosts. The legend of the Flying Dutchman have also inspired many works of art, including paintings, sculptures, and even operas. One of the most famous paintings is by the Dutch artist Albert van der Eekhout, who created a haunting image of the ghostly ship sailing on the stormy sea. Despite the many sightings and stories, there are those who believe that the legend of the Flying Dutchman is nothing more than a myth. Some skeptics point to the fact that there is no historical evidence of a ship named the Flying Dutchman, and that many of the sightings can be explained by natural phenomena, such as mirages or strange reflections on the water. However, for many sailors and seafaring enthusiasts, the legend of the Flying Dutchman continues to captivate and intrigue. Whether it's a real ghost ship or simply a figment of our imagination, its legend will continue to be passed down for generations to come. The Ourang Medan. The Ourang Medan was the Dutch freighter that was sailing in the Strait of Malacca in June of 1947 when it sent out a distress signal that read, "All officers, including captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge, possibly whole crew dead." The Silver Star, an American merchant ship, was the first to respond to the distress signal and found the Ourang Medan drifting aimlessly with no sign of life on board. The crew of the Silver Star boarded the ship to investigate, but found the entire crew of the Ourang Medan dead. They were all lying on their backs, with their eyes open and faces twisted in horror. Even the ship's dog was dead, with its teeth bared and hair raised. The crew of the Silver Star immediately tried to tow the Ourang Medan to port, but before they could do so, smoke started to pour out of the ship's hold. The crew of the Silver Star had to cut the tow line and abandon the ship before they exploded. As they watched from a safe distance, the Ourang Medan suddenly exploded and sank. The mystery of the Ourang Medan has never been solved, and many mysteries have been put forward to explain what happened. Some believe that the ship was carrying dangerous chemicals that caused the crew to die, while others think that they were killed by pirates or a disease. Another theory is that the ship was cursed or haunted, and that the crew died from supernatural causes. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the story of the Ourang Medan has become a popular ghost ship legend, and many books and articles have been written about it. Some even claim that the ghost of the Ourang Medan still haunts the Strait of Malacca, and that ships passing through the area have reported seeing strange lights and sounds, as well as a feeling of dread. In recent years, some researchers have tried to investigate the story of the Ourang Medan more thoroughly. Some of the evidence that suggests the story of the Ourang Medan may have been exaggerated or fabricated includes the lack of official records of the ship's existence. Despite extensive research, no official records have been found that confirms the existence of the Ourang Medan or any ship with a similar name during the reported time period. Additionally, some of the details of the story seems unlikely or impossible, such as the entire crew dying with expressions of terror on their faces, and the ship exploding and sinking shortly after. Some researchers have suggested that the story may have been a combination of multiple tales and legends, or even a hoax created by journalists or writers at the time. However, the true origins of the Ourang Medan story remains a mystery, and it continues to capture the imagination of those interested in maritime mysteries and legends. The stories of these 5 ghost ships and the current whereabouts continues to sprout new theories and sightings emerging even to this day. While the true fate of these vessels may never be fully known, their legend lives on, inspiring new tales for generations to come. If you have any experience or knowledge about any of the ghost ships we discussed, please share them with us in the comments below. Thanks for watching our late night top 5 channel. We're a new channel and would love to have your support by subscribing, liking, or simply dropping a comment down below. To watch more interesting late night videos, click the links to continue watching more.